Hello, my name is Lorenza and I'm the Energy Commons team lead at Carbon Co-op. Within the Energise Manchester project, I've been the project manager and the project lead since its very inception. The core concept behind Energise Manchester is understanding how we can link up energy advice with supporting householders making and taking actions. So linking up better knowledge, better understanding and confidence around energy and what it means to create warm and healthier homes, and then what things can be done in the home in order to create that, and breaking down the barriers that might be around lack of confidence, lack of knowledge, not knowing who to ask, where to find finance of different kind of support. So it's very much about going beyond energy advice as a one-size-fits-all, but really understanding that householders, we're all different, we have different needs, and how can energy advice respond to those different needs. Energise Manchester as a concept really grew out of a lot of work that we've been doing in the last decade, very much so connecting with householders from the very beginning, understanding that retrofit can be hard, can be really complex, and the idea that it has to be this individual thing that we have to tackle just in our homes by ourselves makes it harder. And instead, by coming together and sharing that knowledge, we can create that peer-to-peer support that can make it easier and feels less daunting. And the Energise Manchester project came out by a number of us within Carbon Co-op and other partners, really understanding as well that energy advice has not been as inclusive as it can be and not as representative of all the different householders with different needs. So it was really trying to create something that is different from what at the moment is available. Energise Manchester has wanting to reach out to householders across South Manchester specifically, across 5 wards. We have already worked in these wards and these areas for quite a number of years, so we have some good connections. We understand the communities in this area better, I guess, than other areas where we're less familiar with. And something that has been a driving passion for us was to work more with underrepresented and underserved communities who normally might find it harder to receive and be advised regards to energy. And we wanted to understand how we could create energy advice with feedback from these communities so that the energy advice could be better tailored. Energise Manchester has wanted to reach out to householders in a variety of ways. We have understood from a lot of work that we've done so far that when it comes to energy efficiency in our homes, we all come from different places of knowledge and experience. So different kind of activities that we've done have reached out to householders from very practical energy advice, understanding how to tackle drafts in the home, how to understand why damp and mold happens and appears in the homes and how to tackle it. All the way to supporting householders who might have already started some of their journey, even looking at something more complex like a full retrofit of a home, and actually supporting as well householders who wanted to progress further into that knowledge and familiarity around energy efficiency for their homes. The thing that we really wanted to do with Energise Manchester was to support people to have a better understanding on how to navigate some of the barriers that they faced. One of the principles behind the project was actually to learn from public health and how they apply behaviour change. And in that behaviour change, there are concepts around how to, whether you feel competent about doing something, if you have the skills, if you have the motivation, and if you have the opportunity to do something. So all the activities that we run and delivered with regards to energy advice, we're really trying to be tailored to support someone on those 3 aspects. Could we share some valuable skills that people could build their confidence about doing some DIY draft proofing, for example, or tackling some of the damp and mold, as also as a way to learn and feel more confident about the subject as a whole, and at the same time by giving workshops around finance or what options are out there, by connecting them to some of our partners like Manchester Kennel Repair. We really try to signpost and equip people with better knowledge around how to make decisions and where to get help more holistically and not just a one-size-fits-all again type of approach. Designed Energise Manchester activities across a number of interventions, and the way that we approached that, we really wanted to make sure that we could provide as many possible entry points to Energise Manchester, and in that way we wanted to create opportunities for pop-up events. We went to summer fairs in the local parks, we went to community groups already established that were already meeting at certain times of the day, of the week, of the year, and we brought the project to them. And that was a really good way for anyone who might not even heard of us before to find out about us and the partners and the project. And at those opportunities, we explained the project, we explained different ways that people could get involved. And that was a first starting point for people to then be signposted to other activities like workshops. We run a number of workshops which were open to the public, that they could sign up freely using simple things like an Eventbrite link. And we also worked with community groups that were already established, that were already happening and meeting up, and actually brought the workshops to them because that provided a real familiarity to those groups. And then there was also the program that is around energy saving champions. And actually quite a lot of our champions came from the workshops. So as they understood more about the work that we were doing and the potential to learn more for themselves, they became interested in signing up to a more one-to-one support of a retrofit coach with our partners to then have more in-depth learning about energy efficiencies and retrofit. So there were multiple points of entry, and some householders did quite a lot of activities within the project, and some householders maybe came and learned something only once, and that was enough for them. We can highlight quite a number of moments where we really understood the success and the impact more than anything else about the project, from pop-up street events that happened quite regularly in particular areas and communities, and people came to see us more than once, and then they recognized us and they came back saying how much they enjoyed that first interaction with regards to the energy advice, and they wanted to know more. So that gave us a sense that what we were trying to do in that energy advice was being useful, which was like really good. It was a really good thing to learn and to receive that feedback. And then when we run workshops, people came to more than one workshop, and again brought us feedback that at every workshop they learned something more about energy efficiency, and then they were able to go home. There was someone who came to a workshop around damp and mold, and then they shared with us that they had asthma, and in the previous year they spent a lot of time in and out of A&E, and they've never really realized what damp and mold could be doing to their health, and they were more aware of it, and hopefully that meant that they could go into this new winter that you're just coming out of better prepared. The value of being in person. Energy advice is often received or offered through web-based advice or telephone line, and can be quite centralized or a national scale. But there is something incredibly unique and valuable to actually being hyper-local and getting to know the communities that you're working with, and what level and what type of tailoring of that energy advice can really support their particular needs. That you really can't replace that level of being local, people knowing you and you knowing them. There are quite a number of barriers that still remains despite the work that we've done in Energise Manchester. I would say that one key barrier is that unfortunately projects like Energise Manchester are not able to continue for enough long time to establish that level of support. We've done some really fantastic work, and we really built some good relationship and trust with quite a lot of communities in the area that we've been doing the project. But funding tends to be quite short term. So that is a key barrier in general, is that energy advice can be quite stop and start. And so it becomes harder for a householder to be able to start a journey and then continue on to next steps. And from a project team point of view, that can be a bit worrying, because we care about the work that we do and we're very passionate. And so we really want to see this level of energy advice grow and support more and more people. So that can be one barrier. Another barrier is that there is a huge amount of knowledge out there. There is a lot of information around the topic of energy efficiency, but at the same time, that information and that advice can actually be quite conflicting. So we know from feedback received from householders that being able to sift through that knowledge out there can be quite hard and can be quite confusing. So that can be something that Energise Manchester on its own has not been able to overcome. At the end of this current project for Energise Manchester, we have a lot of plans and a lot of ideas. There's a great level of energy, pardon the pun, about next steps. We have designed a new way of doing energy advice, to provide energy advice, and we really focused on a user-centered service. We have established some really good foundation of what this energy advice looks like and how we can develop it further. So we have some really great opportunities to work more focused way with community leads, that we have built that trust to seek further funding or further support to do more of this work, and also to just develop further those tools and methods that we have created through the Energise Manchester project.